Biden drops out of the 2024 presidential race. China suspends nuclear talks with Washington. Paris worries critics with its Olympic security. China and the Philippines reach deal. Colombian president pushes for health. Copenhagen rewards eco-friendly tourists with free food and tours.
Hello, I'm Wei Li. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It is Tuesday, July 23rd, and here are your top stories. President Biden announced Sunday that he is dropping out of the 2024 presidential race and throwing his support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. Mr. Biden posted a statement on social media. While it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for my term. Mr. Biden said he would address the nation later this week. Harris issued a statement on Sunday saying she is honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination.
He endorsed Harris for the Democratic nomination shortly after, although Mr. Biden cannot appoint a nominee. There was an emergency meeting of senior Democratic National Committee members on Sunday. Harris also paid tribute to Mr. Biden, calling his decision to step aside for the 2024 race a selfless and patriotic act. In the coming days, the party will undertake a transparent and orderly process to move forward as a united Democratic Party with a candidate who can defeat Donald Trump in November. Never before has a sitting president and presumptive nominee dropped out of the race so late in the process, and Mr. Biden's decision to do so underscores the severity of the crisis that enveloped his campaign after his disastrous debate performance against Trump.
China has halted nascent nuclear arms control talks with the United States in protest of Washington's arms sales to the democratically governed island of Taiwan, which Beijing claims as its territory. The Chinese decision deals a potentially serious setback to global arms control efforts, with Beijing joining Moscow in refusing to discuss with Washington measures to curb a nuclear arms race. Chinese Foreign Minister spokesperson Lin Jian said repeated U.S. arms sales to Taiwan in recent months had seriously compromised the political atmosphere for continuing the arms control consultations.
U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said China has chosen to follow Russia's lead by asserting that arms control engagement cannot proceed while there are other challenges in the bilateral relationship. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration advocates a policy of compartmentalization, in which nuclear arms control talks are segregated from other contentious issues. The Chinese decision comes after the Biden administration said the U.S. may have to deploy more strategic nuclear weapons to deter growing threats from Chinese and Russian arsenals. U.S. and Chinese officials resumed nuclear weapons discussions in November, but formal negotiations had not been expected soon despite U.S. concerns about China's rapid nuclear buildup.
A year ago, the head of the Paris Olympics boldly declared that France's capital would be the safest place in the world when the Games open this Friday. Tony Estanguet's confidence forecast looks less far-fetched now, with squadrons of police patrolling Paris's streets, fighter jets and soldiers primed to scramble, and imposing metal fences security barriers erected like an iron curtain on both sides of the River Seine that will start in the opening show. France's vast police and military operation is largely due to the unprecedented security challenges the Olympic faces.
The city has repeatedly suffered deadly extremist attacks, and international tensions are high due to the wars in Ukraine and Gaza. Rather than build an Olympic park with venues grouped outside the city center, like Rio de Janeiro in 2016 or London in 2012, Paris has chosen to host many events in the heart of the bustling capital of 2 million inhabitants, with others scattered around suburbs that house millions more. Putting temporary sports arenas in public spaces and staging a river-borne opening ceremony stretching for kilometers along the Seine makes safeguarding them more complex. Olympic organizers also have cyber-attack concerns, while rights campaigners and games critics worry about Paris's use of AI-equipped surveillance technology and the broad scope and scale of Olympic security.
China and the Philippines reached a deal they hope will end confrontations at the most fiercely disputed shoals in the South China Sea. The Philippines occupied Second Thomas Shoal, but China also claims it. Increasingly hostile clashes at sea have sparked fear of larger conflicts that could involve the United States. The crucial deal was reached on Sunday after a series of meetings between Philippines and Chinese diplomats in Manila and exchanges of diplomatic notes aimed at establishing a mutually acceptable agreement at the shoal without conceding either side's territorial claims.
Two Philippine officials with knowledge of the negotiations confirmed the deal to AP on condition of anonymity. The government later issued a brief statement announcing the deal without providing details. China has disputes with several governments over land and sea borders, many of them in the South China Sea. The deal with the Philippines could inspire hope for similar agreements between Beijing and other rival countries to avoid clashes while territorial issues remain unresolved. It remains to be seen if the deal can be successfully implemented and how long it will last. Chinese Coast Guard and other forces have used powerful water cannons and dangerous blocking maneuvers to prevent supplies from reaching Filipino Navy personnel at Manila's outpost at the shoal.
President Gustavo Petro said Saturday that Colombia's government will propose legislation aimed at overhauling the health sector and will pursue changes to labor laws. Pedro has pushed an ambitious set of economic changes that includes changing the pension system, raising the minimum wage, and redistributing land to farmers affected by Colombia's armed conflict. He managed to get the minimum wage boosted last year and his pension plans approved earlier this year. But he has struggled to persuade legislators to adopt his ideas on labor laws and the health system.
The coalition of political parties that joined Petro's government at the beginning of his term has broken up due to ideological differences. Meanwhile, numerous corruption scandals involving government ministers and the president's eldest son have decreased Petro's popularity. Leftist parties loyal to the president have their highest number of legislative seats in Colombia's history, but they lack the 50% majority needed to pass legislation on their own and have been forced to bargain with parties in the center and on the right. For healthcare, Petro wants a government agency to be in charge of collecting billions of dollars in insurance fees from Colombians, sidelining the private insurance companies that currently manage much of the health system.
Visitors to Copenhagen who engage in environmentally friendly activities such as litter picking or traveling on public transportation could be rewarded with free food, cultural experiences, and tours as part of a new pilot program. The Danish capital's tourism authority, Visit Copenhagen, also known as Wonderful Copenhagen, said in a statement Monday that the Copen Pay trial scheme, which runs from July 15 to August 11, involves transforming green actions into currency for cultural experiences. The Danish capital is popular with visitors for its attractive architecture, world-class food, and a safe, clean, green environment.
For example, visitors who bring plastic waste to the National Gallery of Denmark will gain access to a workshop where they can turn it into a piece of art, while those who cycle or take public transport to the city's famous heating plant will be allowed to ski down an artificial slope on the building's roof. Rewards may be given if visitors show a public transport ticket, but the system is mostly based on trust. A map is available online showing more than 20 participating venues. The pilot project could be implemented year-round if it proves to be successful. The program is launching at a time of increasing concern over the environmental and social impacts of tourism, which have recently sparked protests in Barcelona, the Canary Islands, and Majorca.
The answer for yesterday was C, glitch. There is a glitch in the computer program somewhere. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into the news of Biden drops out of the 2024 presidential race. Number 1, fulfill. 履行, 执行. No candidate fulfills all the criteria for this position. Number 2, patriotic, 爱国的. The crowd sang Land of Hope and Glory and other patriotic songs. Number 3, undertake, 承担, 从事. University professors both teach and undertake research. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's it for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Wei Li, your host. I'll see you next time.